Vance. And I want to just note that I appreciate, I'm not making a left or right comment. I am just noting that sometimes the language that we use to describe people who are experiencing homelessness can be dehumanizing. And we always talk about people as being victims or being vulnerable, that sometimes that seems to suggest that they don't, as you say, have agency and that they're not human beings with lots of assets. And so I wanted to just acknowledge that I heard what you were saying there. So, colleagues, I understand that Senator Sinema is on her way, and but while we are waiting for Senator Sinema, I defer to Senator Britt.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. To both of you, thank you for bringing this important issue before this subcommittee. I appreciate getting to be a part of the conversation and therefore hopefully getting to be a part of the solution. So thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Mr. Olivet, roll tide. Wanted to tell you both, appreciate your testimony, reading them and looking through it. Obviously, homelessness is something experienced by a wide variety of people in a range of circumstances across our great nation. Would you agree, obviously, individuals that experience homelessness, I think I've heard you say it, but just to make sure we're on the same page, it is adults, children's, veterans, families, people from all walks of life can find themselves in this position.
Absolutely. And I think not one story is the same.
Right.
You know, people have their own pathways into and out of homelessness. And if you just start breaking down the data, there are huge numbers of families who are experiencing homelessness. And even though we're making progress in that area, we can do more. The same is true for single adults. I talked about elderly Americans. Older Americans are one of the fastest growing groups of people experiencing homelessness. So we have to look subpopulation by subpopulation at what really works.
And so on that note, and Dr. Cho, I'd love for you to jump in here as well. You know, obviously these vast circumstances that are different in people's stories, how are we tailoring the services needed for each of these different families or people or individuals or children that come in front of you all?
Senator, that is actually a great question and something that HUD and actually Congress through the HEARTH Act began requiring communities to do. You know, prior to 2009, most communities' homeless services look like a loose collection of uncoordinated programs, each maintain their own waiting list. In 2010, communities just started developing coordinated systems so that we could actually do a better job of assessing their needs and matching them to the right level of assistance. Some people just need short-term rental assistance and housing navigation. Others need permanent supportive housing, intensive case management coupled with long-term indefinite rental assistance. Others just need a little bit of financial assistance and a point in the right direction. And I think what our ability to reduce homelessness is, can we use the resources that we have smartly to match people to the right level of assistance relative to their needs and strengths?
And so as we're doing that, you kind of talked about sometimes the hang up in local communities. I believe you kind of referenced that. What are we doing to partner with state and local communities? One, what are we doing to partner with nonprofits and charities and religious organizations that want to be a part of the solution?
Senator, our team has senior regional advisors around the country who work with governors and their teams, with mayors and their teams, as well as with the local nonprofit sector, faith community, business community, because we believe that you need all of those levels of government, private sector working together. So we're actively fostering those partnerships and trying to support best practices.
Is there any impediment in current practice that keeps those faith-based communities from getting to be a part of helping in this?
I don't see any impediment, Senator. I think we see lots of faith-based organizations who participate in efforts to end homelessness. I've learned a lot over the years working with faith-based organizations who provide supportive housing and other housing and services. I think another thing that Mr. Olivet and I have in common, in addition to working in homelessness for a long time, is that we're both, I believe we're both children of clergy.
Not a child of, but I've known a lot in my life.
Got it. Okay. So you know, our work in homelessness is rooted in the faith community, and they've always been a critical part of the homelessness services.
So from both of your perspective, we have a good working relationship across the board there.
It's community by community. I think in some areas there's very good alignment between how public funding is working and how faith-based service providers or faith community members themselves are working. And in other places, there's a lot of dissension and disagreement. And I think it's critical that those things are aligned. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
You just get a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah, I appreciated your comments comments earlier about we need to align so that we can work together to make it happen. And I know I am almost out of time, so I will just jump ahead a little bit, but the National Alliance to End Homelessness calculated that in 2021, the U.S. federal government enacted over $51 billion in funding for selected homelessness and housing programs. And as we kind of look at that, I wanted to just talk specifically about something that my colleagues have already brought up, and that is mental health and substance abuse. 75% of chronically homeless suffer from mental illness, and 75% have substance abuse problems. And we know, obviously, that overlaps the majority of that chronic homelessness. So would you agree that in addition to putting a roof over their head, as we've discussed, that it is imperative that these people are given the resources and begin the process of being able to deal with the issues that have created the homelessness in the first place?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, Senator, 100% agree. And we recently have developed additional tools working with the Substance Use Mental Health Services Administration on how to tailor recovery supports while people are moving into stable housing from homelessness.
And one question, I have 19 seconds. So how long typically, thank you so much, Madam Chairman, how long do, on average, would someone who is homeless find themselves in this One Roof program or Housing First program being there?
I think it varies by person. Again, Housing First is not one single program model. It's different types of assistance. So again, some people only need 6 months, 3 months, sometimes 9 months of rental assistance. Other people who've been homeless for many, many years may need longer term housing supports, and Housing First can last indefinitely until they no longer need that level of rental.
So there are some people that are there indefinitely. Do those people ever have a moment where they shift into, well, now it's time for you to start utilizing the resources in front of you so that you can get back on your
Absolutely,
feet?
Senator. We see lots of people graduating from permanent supportive housing, either moving into housing without services or without, rental assistance without services, or even just moving into independent. There have been examples of people experiencing homelessness who've gone from homelessness to permanent supportive housing all the way to home ownership. It can really vary just as the pathways into homelessness.
Well, thank you so much. I believe we have to not only help people, but then give them the tools to help themselves. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chairman.